Hi guys, Darth Deuce here, back with another Star Wars figure video. Today I'm going to be counting down my top 10 favorite deluxe Star Wars The Black Series figure releases that I have in my collection. Deluxe releases have been a part of the Black Series for a fair many years now, and they've been, I'd say, controversial, I suppose, within the community. You know, a lot of the times a deluxe figure is released, and the question is brought up most of the time whether the figure is worth that deluxe price point. And a lot of times, collectors, myself included, are questioning those price points most of the time, which is a little unfortunate. But there still have been some really cool figures that have come out in that deluxe sort of subline, I suppose. So I just wanted to count down my 10 favorites. I have picked up quite a few of them. I don't have every deluxe figure ever released, but I got quite a few of them. So I'm trying. What's considered a deluxe release from Black Series, especially in earlier years, is a little vague. So most of these, I think, are considered like standard deluxe figures. There might be a couple things here and there that might be technically not deluxe releases, but they pretty much are. I'm not counting stuff like the Hasbro PulseCon Force Unleashed set. Well, because one, it's technically a multi-pack, but it's just way more expensive than like a standard deluxe release. So kind of in that deluxe price point. So in front of you here, these three are just three kind of like honorable mentions, I guess, that I wanted to just talk about really quick. Ned B's a more recent-ish figure. I just think he's really cool. He's got some okay heft. He's definitely a larger figure. He's all new sculpt that they'll probably never reuse because it's a pretty unique droid. A decent accessory with the gun and the hammer. Pretty good paint apps, at least for what's there. So I think he was a pretty solid one. General Grievous, I want to love this figure, and back when it first came out, it was cool, but it's just, there's a lot wrong with it. It's not very sturdy. I can't even believe I have him standing here right now, because he is really tough to stand. He should have been fairly bigger, like he should be a lot taller and probably a little bulkier as well. He's definitely underscaled. And also, they didn't put the emblem on the back of his cape, which might not, some people might not care about that. That bugs me. Also, I don't really like how it bunches up at the top that much. But he comes with a great array of accessories. The sculpt and paint's really good. I really love the head sculpt and the face printing on that, especially. I think that looks really good. You get all his lightsabers. You get the pockets on the cape so you can store the hilts there, which is cool. He had his blaster. I do wish they'd go back and redo Grievous. They so far only reissued or repainted the body and released it, so I do hope that they will make a new one at some point. But this is the one we got so far, and it's not terrible, but there is a lot of issues with it that need to be addressed. And then lastly, Jar Jar here, not one of my personal favorites, just because unfortunately I just don't care much for the character. It just is what it is. But it's got to say, it's probably one of their better deluxe releases they've done. It's got really nice paint apps, especially like on the skin texturing and on the head sculpt and whatever. The eyes, really nice sculpted and painted details going on here. Some of the best I've seen on Black Series, honestly. Articulation's good. He is definitely, he's a bit bigger than your standard figure. Came with a fair amount of accessories. Got the little energy ball throwing thing. He came with the electro spear thingy, and he also comes with a big electric or energy shield, which is super cool. And it's a body that Phasor really won't be able to reuse too much of. Maybe the legs, but that's it, honestly. Like, you're not really getting much reuse out of this. So I think this was a really good release that deserves to be talked about, because I do think he's kind of underrated just because of who the character is. But yeah, it didn't crack my top 10 because of the character, unfortunately. But let's move on to the actual top 10. So first off, at number 10, we have the Dark Trooper, and I really like this figure a lot. It's, I think, the only deluxe figure I've gotten two of, kind of accidentally, but I did want to have two to flank Moff Gideon, and it's a great figure, articulates well, all new sculpt that really can't, I don't think, can be reused again. I love the glossy black used throughout the entire figure. It's got decent amount of paint apps, although there really still isn't that much. And got a decent array of accessories. You get gun holding hands, closed fists for punching, the blaster, and then the thruster effects you can put on the bottom of the feet. Not too bad, but this one definitely pushes pushes the threshold on whether it's a deluxe release or not. It doesn't really have that much paint. It's not huge. Like, he's maybe a little bigger than the average figure, not really that much. Could have fit in a standard box. It doesn't come with a ton of extra accessories, a gun and a few swappable hands and the thruster effects. I'll be honest, I would have been okay with them not having the thruster effects because it doesn't come with a stand, so you have to buy your own stand just to make use of those thruster effects. So, but it's still a super cool figure. I really like this droid design, so yeah. And number 9, we have Saw Gerrera from Rogue One. I think this figure is hella underrated, mainly because I've seen it, and I think you probably still can get it for like well under its original retail price, which is a good thing for collectors. But it's kind of a shame he was maybe slept on a little bit. I really love the character. I love Forrest Whitaker's portrayal of the character, and it's a really good figure, honestly. He does have some heft to him. He's a bit bigger, like in mass, compared to most other figures. He's got this giant chest armor and armor all over his body. He's got tons of sculpted detail, a pretty good amount of paint apps as well. I love the prosthetic leg on one side. He's got all these different bits and bobs. I think one thing people might not realize is makes him a little more worth at deluxe price point, aside from having a bunch of paint and being all new sculpt that they pretty much can't reuse again, except for maybe another version of Saw. Is there's a lot of different like separate pieces, like this strap's a separate piece, the whole breathing mask's a separate piece, the belt's separate, this tube and thing is separate, this shoulder pad is separate to the chest armor, the cape, plastic cape piece is separate to the chest armor, that sort of thing. Accessories were decent with the cane. He had his pistol there too, which is all unique accessories to this figure. And the head sculpt and face print I think is absolutely phenomenal. I really love how it looks. It turned out really good. And posability is pretty good for how bulky he is, even though he doesn't really need it because he doesn't really do anything too crazy. But yeah, it's just a super cool figure that I'm really happy they made. And yeah, I think maybe a few people pass on this, but it's really good. At number 8, we have Black Chrysanthemum, pretty recent deluxe figure, and definitely one of the ones that's a bit closer to being worth that deluxe price point. He's all new sculpt, and it's nice to have a new, more modernized Wookiee sculpt because the Chewbacca one is getting outdated, and that Black Chrysanthemum they tried to do with that body was terrible. I never even picked it up, but this figure is really well done. Has some heft to him. He's big. He's got pretty decent articulation for how bulky he is. I do wish the elbow articulation was a little better for holding the gun, but it's not too bad considering. I do love the big rifle, and it has some nice paint apps on it, and it has a peg to be pegged onto his back, which is super cool. The paint in general on this figure is really nice. Head sculpt's really good. He's got all this nice kind of grayish wash and whatnot to give some difference to his fur there, which is great. Even the armor has a nice little bit of like wear and wash going on, which looks really nice as well. It's a really impressive figure, and I think a really solid deluxe release from Hasbro. And at number 7, we have the Gaming Greats Deluxe Calcastus from Jedi Fallen Order. And sometimes I forget this figure is a deluxe release, but it's a surprisingly really well done one. The main figure itself is just a repaint of the standard issue Cal, but this time he has the poncho, which I think is really nice. And basically just comes with a ton of accessories. The first one didn't come. You had 2 lightsaber options, the double bladed and the single blade. Comes with a Jedi holocron, which is the super cool accessory, probably my favorite. He came with a boggling. He came with the repaint of the fully articulated BD1 that you can actually peg. I have him on his shoulder. He actually does have a tab to actually peg him onto his shoulder there, like in the game, which is super nice. And they even give you the option to have him with his hood up, even though that wasn't even a customizable visual option you even had in the game, which I think is a super cool bonus. So yeah, I think this is just a super solid one. I think this is one of their better deluxe releases they've done. They actually came with a lot of extra accessories, which is great. And at number 6, I think this is a deluxe release. I think it was close to the same price point as most of the deluxes we currently get. It might have been a little more expensive, I'm not sure. But it's the Last Jedi Throne and Snoke set, which I think is an absolutely incredible set. I know people are decisive on the sequel trilogy. It's definitely my least favorite trilogy, but I still enjoy them. And I still enjoy the character of Snoke. I think they killed this set. The figure itself is great. He's got really good articulation. The sculpt and paint is really well done, especially on the head. This is pre-face print. And aside from the eyes maybe not looking quite realistic enough, the paint and detail on the actual head itself I think is superb. They did a really nice wash on the face to bring out all the sculpted scarring and detail, which I think they sculpted really nicely as well. It just looked absolutely awesome. I love that. And then the throne is a super impressive piece. It's a good size. He sits on it really naturally. I really like how you can sit him very naturally on it. And like even sculpting details on the back and whatnot. It has some decent paint apps. Just really great. Worth it alone for the throne, but the Snoke is also really nice. The soft goods are really well done. It's just really, really solid. I really like this set, and it's a really nice piece that I have on the shelf. It really stands out. Then getting into the top 5, at number 5, we have the Heavy Infantry Mandalorian, or Paz Vizsla. They've now re-released or repainted or retooled this figure a number of times at this point. This is the first release. And even though it's still inaccurate to the source material, it's just a fun figure. It's well engineered, it's well articulated. Accessory with the big ass gun is super cool. The paint and sculpt is really well done. He's got nice washes over the armor. Makes it look pretty realistic looking, and the different little scuffs and battle damage looks nice. The jetpack's cool. You can't put thruster effects. I think you can put thruster effects in the bottom there. Yeah, he's not super accurate, and I wish they would make like retool this or something to make a more accurate one. I don't know why they just keep reissuing the same figure. It's a little annoying, but just from fun factor wise, I think this guy is super fun and super cool. I remember back then just having a blast posing this guy because he just poses so nicely. And number 4, we had the Return of the Jedi Boba Fett, and this is like a standard sized figure, I think done right at deluxe price point, kind of similar to Cal. They just did such a good job. In terms of Black Series anyways, I'd say this is still the definitive Boba Fett. Whether it's better than imports or not, it's up for you to decide. But I think this, at the time anyways, is all new sculpt, which I think they did really well, aside from having to dip the helmet in hot water to try to fix that up a little bit. The paint is actually well done. You know, a lot of times they say, oh, this is deluxe because it has a lot of extra paint, when in reality, honestly, it doesn't have that much crazy paint. But here, it actually has quite a bit of paint. You know, you got a lot of nice painted details on his gauntlets of different colors. You know, you got different paint for this side of the glove there, the battle damage on his armor, the emblems, the different decals and whatnot, the belts, the straps. Even the rifle has this pretty crazy, like, rusty-ish, brownish, dirty-ish wash over the rifle, which is really good. The cables are different paint. Got this nice silver paint for the rocket and for the thrusters, and all that scuff damage. All looks really good. They even painted these little silver knee darts launchers, which I don't think a Boba Fett figure or a character wearing this type of armor has had that paint app since. So that's really nice, and even the tools on the legs are painted and everything. A lot of paint here. Articulation was also revamped, so much better than the old Boba Fett. Really great articulation. And then just all the accessories. It was all done really well. It came with a bunch of stuff. You had the rifle. They had the other version of the rifle that you could slice in two. You had, obviously, I went with the flame effect for his gauntlet, which I think looks super nice. He had the grapple hook gauntlet with the real string, which was a little lame in my opinion, but it was still cool to have. And you got the thruster effects for the jetpack, which was great too. And the missiles were movable. Jetpacks roll over jetpacks removal if you want. You got the moving rangefinder on the helmet. I think you'd be hard pressed to find a better figure at a similar price point. They just did a really good job with this one, and I wish more figures, if they're going to be standard size figures, I wish more figures would follow this Boba Fett when it came to the price points and what to include with a deluxe figure, because there have been other deluxe Boba Fett figures. I like them, but none of the other ones have been worth the price point, in my opinion. But this one, I think, is. And number 3, we have Zeb Aurelios from Star Wars Rebels, and I think this is one of the best deluxe figures they've done, honestly. It's a number of years old now, but it's just really great. It's the only Lasat we have in Black Series sections for so far, maybe ever, but we'll see. I imagine he'll show up at some point in the whole Disney Plus versus Mandoverse thing, but in more capacity than just a cameo, and he'll probably get a figure then. But until then, it's the only one they've done, and they've probably made this going in that we probably weren't going to get much, if at all, reuse out of this body. It is a pretty unique body. He's got very unique legs that I think are engineered with the articulation pretty well. He's hefty. He is bigger than most characters, as he should be. The paint and sculpt is really well done, especially the head sculpt just looks really good, and they translated the animation model well into a realistic sort of style, which is great. His accessory, his weapon is also really cool. He only comes with the one weapon, but there's just a lot going on here. First, nice paint ass. He also has removable electric effects, and you can configure it into its staff mode, as I have here, its blaster mode, or you can configure it to actually store on its back, which I think is just very, very cool. And yeah, for Deluxe and Black Series, I feel like, yeah, for sure, this one's one of the best ones they've done. I really like this Zeb figure. One of my favorites of the Rebels crew that they've made. And at number 2, if you've been following my channel for a length of time, this won't come to much surprise. This is where a little bit of my bias comes in, but I absolutely love this Darth Malgus figure. He's got the heft that I'd expect. He was all new sculpt, great articulation, decent accessories. He's got the big lightsaber, and he had the removable mask. He could have came with a little more stuff, I'll admit. Some interchangeable hands to make it at least look like using the Force or something would have been cool. But the head sculpt and face print is really, really well done. The detail in the armor is great. Like I said, the posability poses very fluently and well. The soft goods cape even turned out well, and the hood even doesn't even look that goofy. It looks pretty good, actually, which is difficult to do at this scale. Could have used a little bit of weathering. Like, it's not a perfect figure. I've seen it go on sale, but I had no problem paying the full price point because I really love this character, and I think they just knocked it out of the park. And at number 1, the Emperor Palpatine with Throne Deluxe set, whatever, that I think was Amazon exclusive from a number of years ago now, is definitely my favorite Deluxe release that I own. I think this is the best Deluxe set that I think they've ever done, at least in terms of, like, in regards to price point. Like, I can't remember what this went for. It was like maybe like $50 Canadian back when it came out, maybe. I can't remember. But it wasn't too badly priced. You get the revamped Palpatine figure, which not only had face printing added to him, but also had a soft goods lower robe as opposed to the original release's plastic, so he could actually sit. Came with the awesome throne that's nicely sculpted. Had some pretty good paint apps around like details like his controls on his armrest there. The soft goods themselves on the figure work really well. And then he came with not only his cane, but interchangeable Force lightning hands and 3 separate head sculpts with 3 different pretty cool expressions to get all the different looks he had in the film. I don't think you can ask for much better at the original price point this came at. I think this is a pretty expensive set now, unfortunately. I've heard rumors they're going to reissue this, but it hasn't happened yet, so I don't know. But yeah, I absolutely love this Palpatine. It's one of my favorite Black Series figures in my entire collection. I think they did such a good job with it. Anyways, that is pretty much it. It's just a fun little video I wanted to do, highlighting, well, we collectors and myself probably complain about Deluxes quite a bit. I do think Hasbro has produced a fair amount of really good releases in their Deluxe line, and I just kind of wanted to showcase that with my favorites. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. What are some of your guys' favorites Deluxe releases from Hasbro in the Black Series? Be interested to see or to know. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'll see you guys on the next one, and may the Force be with you.